see by the leaves, by the branch, and by the bark that what I have here is a willow. The willows are commonly found along water, streams, rivers, lakes, ponds, and marshy areas. Now I chose this one specifically because it has a long straight piece here, big around as my thumb, and that's going to be just right for making drills out of. It does have one section about 2 foot long that's thick enough for making a couple fireboards out of. I could probably get 4 good fireboards out of this one piece. Willow bark peels very easily, and that's the first thing I'm going to do with this piece to begin processing it, is peel the bark off to aid in drying quickly. And if I want, I could use this bark for cordage when it's green like this. It's very good for binding things together with, and it'll dry nice and tight. Okay, you can see I stripped the bark off this willow. I did, however, leave part of the bark on the area that I'm going to use for drill making. Right, and that's because I want it to dry, so I got some bark off, but I want that rough texture that the bark provides, because that's going to help that drill spin when I use the bow on it. So from that one piece, I have 3 pieces that I'll use for fireboards. Right, I like my fireboards long like this, but it's tough in nature to find long lengths that are straight, and I'll use these 3 pieces for drills. Although this one is a little crooked, like I said, it's difficult to find perfectly straight things in nature, especially when they're growing on the edges of lakes and stuff. They tend to curve around other growth, and you have things like this. But I picked the choicest ones out of it, and this is what I have. So now it's a matter of letting these dry for at least 3 months. And then they'll be ready to try out. The drill I'm using is stiff. It's not a flexible one, and it does have a slight curve. I don't like a big curve, but I like a very slight curve. You can see I get 2 fireboards out of a piece of willow by splitting it. There's one I haven't worked at all yet. This one I've used a couple times. Here's one I've used quite a bit. Willow drill. Here's it in more of a raw form. Bracer block. Here's one that's used up. You see how deep the divots have gotten to where the drill just binds inside. I like to freshen up my drill, because as you use it, the bracer block end will start to bind in. And also I like to freshen up the fireboard side, rough it up a little bit so it builds heat quickly in the beginning. Maybe flatten it out a little bit. I like my bracer block point sharp and the fireboard side flat. So I've burned through the board twice. Every other time I've gotten a coal. And this is how I make another divot. Just simply take the corner of my blade and drill it in there like so. Once I form a divot that's good enough to take that drill, then I'll cut my V in. Once I have the divot started for the fireboard, I will literally do it by hand just to get the divot formed to the shape of the drill. Once it's smooth enough, then I'll take the bow and begin working it in. Once I see that I'm able to make smoke with it and it's formed well, then I will begin notching it. Simply going side to side, clicking up. It's easier to do on the ground. This is simply a piece of birch. It's the papery kind.
When using the bow and drill, look for a fluid motion, steady, even, flowing motion that doesn't bind, not too loose, not too tight, and this is going to give you some success. I can promise you this, it's not always easy making fire with primitive skills. I personally appreciate the honesty that was shown by Dave Canterbury and Cody Lundin in the show Dual Survivor. They demonstrated that even the experts can have trouble. With practice over time, you will be able to develop a skill that lets you know when a coal has formed. You'll see that steady stream of smoke even after you've stopped drilling. Don't rush it. Let that coal build and then move it to a bird's nest or your tinder pile.